What's up, you guys? Justin Rivas here, wanting to make a pretty special video where I show you guys how to make videos like this. Now, this isn't for my super technical followers. This is for people who are just starting out and you're like, I want to make videos, but it's so overwhelming on how to get started. And the idea of all these knobs and buttons and things, like, I just want to make videos. And this is going to be hopefully for you guys, where we can walk through this kind of start to finish and not too long, and give you just enough so you can get started making high quality videos and, skip ahead from all the mistakes you have to make. So if that sounds good, or in this, if you're super technical and far away on there, maybe you'll pick up some of these early tips, but this may not be that exciting. But let's get into it. Don't mind if I refer to my notes. The first and most important thing for getting quality video is getting as much light on your face as possible. If you've got a big window in your room, wherever you're doing this, it's great to always, you basically want the light on this side of the camera. So you have your camera here and put all the light over there, whether it's a room light like on the ceiling, or honestly getting as many like desk lamps or floor lamps or things. Get them pointing at your face, bouncing off your face and into the camera. In the case of this, you'll see I've got a couple of like big lights around here that are pointing at my face, and I also have kind of one behind me, and that's not the end of the world, but those lights are just helping light up my face so people can see me. Darkness is tough for cameras to work with, and it's honestly probably the biggest thing between videos that look crappy and ones that look good is just a good amount of light, whether that's natural or that's room lights or lamps or whatever you can get as much light as possible. Go find a Salvation Army, go find a Value Village or whatever you have in your place and buy lamps. Get light bulbs, shine them on your face. Another little tip is try not to mix the colors of your bulbs, where you know how some light looks more orange and some light looks more blue? Just try and get it all consistent. And if you have a big light and you're regularly shooting with natural light coming in, get the bluer ones. That just helps them all match. That's just like a side little tip. Another one is if you happen to be lucky and have a camera like this one that has a flip out screen, which you're able to see, don't be staring at this screen while you're shooting unless you're wearing sunglasses like Casey Neistat. He can get away with that, but that's kind of his thing. Don't take his thing. But what ends up happening, if you can see right now, is this is what it will look like if you're staring at the screen at the side there. And people can tell that you're not making eye contact on them, or if they have the flip-up screen on top. This is what it looks like when you're staring at that and talking to the screen, as opposed to looking directly into the camera and talking to the camera. So just make sure you're looking right in the lens and talking to the lens, or else it looks like you're not really paying attention, or those like weird people that they're looking at your mouth and not your eyes, or it ends up being weird. Other thing I'll say is dial up that energy. Now, you maybe had a long day, or maybe you're naturally like a little bit more of a subdued person. You don't like talking with your hands, and so you're just standing here and talking on. That's not going to work. You need to just dial up the energy. Don't be afraid of getting in the camera and turning it up 20 or 30% to make you more interesting to listen to. I'm not saying don't have a personality that you don't, which is the next one. You need to be you. You have to be you and own it. But there's something about taking yourself and just dialing it up a little bit. I don't talk to all my friends like this. I'm not always in their face with my hands, but it just helps in engaging somebody on the other side of the camera and vying for their attention. That last one, you be you, is if you're like me and you talk with your hands, then you do you, but you have to show your true personality. Don't try and be anybody else, or try and be like something that you're not because you see how, so-and-so does it this way, so I want to try and be like them. You be you. It's going to be the most natural. Last point, till we get before the technical things, is feedback. Feedback is so important. Now, there may be trolls and there may be haters, and, ignore those people, but if somebody's genuinely telling you something like, hey, you need to turn up the energy, you need to turn down the energy, or you talk too fast, or you talk too slow, or, the lighting's terrible, or whatever it is, take that feedback. You don't have to adjust to every piece of feedback, but weigh that and consider it. Also, watch your own stuff and critique yourself, make little notes, and don't be crippled, because it's better than you think it is. But if you're watching and you're taking notes and you adjust to that and try and make mental notes, you're going to get better. And the only way to get better is to keep doing it. So do something, put it out there, even if you're not happy with it. Put it out there, put it out there, put it out there. The only way you get better is by doing. Okay? So that's kind of the high level stuff. Now let's get into a little bit of the technical details of what you're going to need to make a video like this. Now, you can just start with a phone, and a phone works fine, and follow the same principles of light and shooting with your phone and getting started. But this isn't really for people who, have phones and want to get it for phones. It's people who are wanting to make maybe a higher quality video, starting with a camera. And so you can shoot with their phone. It's not going to be as good as getting something like, a quality camera. So we're going to talk about quality cameras. Now, if you don't have a camera and you're looking for a recommendation on camera to buy, you're probably going to need to spend about $500 to $1,000 depending, on your budget and what you have, and each one gets you slightly different things. So recommendations for you on the lowest end budget: a Canon T6 as of April 10th, 2017 is kind of the best budget buy for around $500. It's Canon. It's a good name. It's got a decent lens that's going to come with it, and should be around $500 US, and it's fine for getting started. The thing that it's lacking is it doesn't have like one of these fancy little flip out screens, which can be just honestly handy. Not that you're trying to stare at it the whole time, but when you're trying to set up the shot, being able to like straighten out your roof lines and make sure that you look okay is handy, because you can actually make sure, like, is my face properly lit? Does it, look okay? Am I not chopping off the top of my hair or my head? You can get around that with something like the T6, where you basically like record and then stop it and go around the camera and look and see. But having a flip out screen is handy. So Panasonic G7, that's what I use to do all my vlogs, is another good option. I think it's around $700 US. Or a Canon T6i is probably, what are they, $750 now? And those are good options with flip out screens. If you're going to do a kind of video like this one where you want to be able to like throw things right up there, and take them away, maybe like I don't know if it'd be like, maybe makeup tutorials or something where you have like a product. And the only thing is, not all cameras are so good at focusing and refocusing. Like this, see how my face is in focus and it can do that. If you're going to be doing a lot of that where you're putting stuff regularly in there, a Sony A6000, I would say, is another good option, around $600 US, I believe. And it can just do that kind of focusing. That's what I'm shooting on, is a Sony, a higher end one, but it's really good at that kind of focusing. No flip out screen though, so you're gonna give that away. But it does a really good job of tracking that focus. The Canon T6i should also do a pretty good job of that as well, with the flip out screen, but top end of the budget at $750. There's so many more options. If you have questions, just ask. But some people are gonna be asking, I don't even know what kind of camera to start with. Those are some good options. If you really don't have budget, like you're like, oh, I only have like maybe $200 or $300, try and find a used Canon T3i. That's just like, I saw one at the photo store here in Canada for $275, which would probably be like closer to $200 US. And it's got the flip out screen and it can shoot full HD. And typically I think it can shoot for 10 or 15 minutes before it overheats, and hopefully that's enough time, and it may be better than that. But just when you're talking about a quality option for used, that kind of built like tanks and just seem to work, Canon T3i. Check that out if you're really on a budget. Okay, so we need to start with the camera. The other things that you probably are gonna want is some kind of tripod. Now, a tripod is what holds the camera, and typically we're used to these kind of tripods. Amazon, $30 if you're starting out, Canadian, I think. It's probably even cheaper. And just search for the Amazon Basics tripod, and they work, and the legs extend, and it just gives something to hold the camera so you're not holding it. Some people try and like put it on the desk, but like honestly, let's like look at this angle right here. You end up with like double chin, and it ends up like looking funny. You want to get the camera up, like I have it here, to a spot where it's fitting you well and you're not having to worry about it. So that ends up being a good investment. If you are thinking of doing more like run and gun style vlogs, this is called a Joby Gorilla Pod, and they come in various sizes depending how big your camera is. And it's just kind of handy because you're able to throw your camera on it like this, and then you're able to like put it out here and talk to your camera. And so if you're doing like a lot of run and gun style vlogs, and lets you like hold it and be a little bit more stable with your camera, these aren't necessarily cheap, but they also work on the desktop where you can do this, and then you can just like adjust the ball, and boom, you've got that. So this is an option if you're going out a lot more. If you're not and you're mostly shooting at home, don't spend the money on this. Just get, that other kind of tripod there. If you're just starting out, and again, budget is a concern, you maybe don't need an extra microphone. This is a Rode Video Mic Go, and it works fine for starting out. It's about $100 US, and it's going to improve the quality of your audio greatly if you're talking to the camera. Now, newer cameras are getting pretty good at the little mics that are on board. It's not going to be quite as good as this, and it's going to make the room a little bit more echoey. That's why these can be nice, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. The only thing is, if you're planning to take your camera outside at all and never do any shooting outside, you kind of need one of these. This is called a dead cat, and it's just like a big furry windsock that cuts down the wind noise, whereas the little mics on there, they can't really do that. So, but if you're doing a music style vlog or you just want slightly better audio, Video Mic Go from Rode, R-O-D-E, good option for about $100. If you're still strapped for cash, the Rode Video Micro I think is like $60 or $70. Not quite as good, but again, going to be better than the in-camera audio. All of these cameras that I've recommended, other than the A6000, have a jack where you can plug in a microphone. For the A6000, Sony makes their own little microphone that goes in the hot shoe, which is the little adapter on top. Ask your camera store for the Sony microphone. Use that one instead because it doesn't have a mic jack. And honestly, most lower-end cameras don't have mic jacks, and that's why we don't typically recommend them. That Sony can get around that. But just that audio can be good. And that's basically the equipment that you need on the most basic end. Okay? Sound okay? Any questions there, feel free to drop me a comment below. But maybe I'll mention lenses briefly. Most of the lenses that come with cameras these days are fine to start with. If you want to up your quality, there are other lenses that you can get, but you're going to want to practice your technical skills really before you need to do that. So don't worry too much about lenses to start out with. Let's talk about some of the technical settings. One of them that we need to set is the quality at which we're going to record the videos on. And whatever they're set to in the beginning might be fine, but I'll just walk you through. A good setting to start with, I'll show you on this camera, is 1080p at 30 frames per second of the MP4 format. This is gonna sound really technical. Don't worry about it. You're gonna find this in your camera. Let's do this right now. Actually, let me take this off here. That's gonna make it easier. Let's stop recording, good. Okay, we've got our menu here. We're gonna click on menu. No, not that. We're gonna click on menu. Okay, we're gonna go to record quality. The first thing we're gonna do is find record format. You could have a bunch of different ones in your camera. Find the MP4 one. And then you're going to find the record quality. Again, it's different on every camera, but should be fairly similar. And go find the 30p there. So you see 1920 by 1080, 30p MP4. That's just going to be a good place to start. There's a whole bunch of other technical reasons of different things that you could do for other reasons, but if you're just starting making videos like this, that's a great setting to start with. If your camera doesn't shoot 1080p and it just has 720p, that's fine. Start there. Go with whatever you got, but find that MP4 setting. It's probably going to be the easiest for most cameras to edit, or computers to edit, and so that part is going to be handy. Set it to that, okay? Makes sense? Shooting modes. Again, something slightly technical, but we do need to talk about it. When you see the top of your camera here, you're going to have a dial. Okay, and the dial's going to have lots of different options. Try and find the one that has some kind of like movie setting. It could look like a film strip or camera, and set it to that movie setting. If it doesn't have that, you're going to set it to A or AV on Canons, but you're going to look for that. We're going to get back to that in a second. And you basically, if you get on that movie mode or you don't have the movie mode, there's really 4 things you can pick from, and I don't want to go into too much details, but a P, you're going to see that either on the top of the dial if you don't have the movie mode, or in the case of my camera, it's going to be somewhere in the menu, or here you can see I've got a little A up here. I'm going to try and hit that. Yeah. And P. P is the most basic setting. What P does is the camera does kind of everything for you. It's kind of like an automatic setting for video, and you don't really have to worry about much. And that's fine for starting out with, but very easily we're going to go into A. A is aperture priority. What aperture is, hopefully in the super non-technical way, is these lenses have openings that can be wide open or they can be really small. You know, like your eye, like when it's really bright outside, your eye gets really small to clamp down on the amount of light coming in. And when it's really dark, your pupil dilates, you know, really big to let more light in. Cameras kind of work the same way, but the big thing about aperture that you need to know is the more wide open it is, the more light it's letting in, which is good. We've talked about light. You want lots of light letting in. Coming in, letting in. The other thing that aperture does when we open up big wide to let lots of light in is it actually begins to blur away the background or whatever we're not focused on. Let me show you an example here. Let's use this. Okay, ready? Oh, I gotta set this back to what I was recording in before. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna focus in on this. And you can see that in the background, the like tripod here is nice and blurry while, you know, this is in focus. And typically what that ends up doing is it lets us focus on you, the subject, and not worry about all the junk in the background. Now, it's not gonna be super blurry, you know, on these kind of lenses that come with the camera, but it's gonna be somewhat blurry. And that's gonna be good while the camera's also letting in as much light as possible. Now, you may get in a situation here where we're gonna focus on this, where you do want the background in focus. Maybe you're like got a beautiful piece of scenery behind you, like you're, you know, doing a video in front of the mountains. You don't want the mountains to be blurry, you want people to be able to see it. That's where you dial up this number, and you may not be able to see this here. I'll show this to you. There's a number. We want that as low as possible, and pretty much on every camera, 3.5 is going to be as low as it can go, but you can dial that up, and that's going to put more and more and more stuff in focus here. I'll give you an example. So we've got 3.5, going to focus in here. The background's blurry. Well, watch what happens as I dial this up. Do you see how now the background is in focus and the bottle's in focus? So that maybe seems a little bit technical, but all you want to be able to do is put that in A, or on Canon, AV, and dial that all the way down to the lowest number you can possibly get to. And that's going to keep the focus on you and try and take away the distractions in the background while giving you the most amount of light. Okay, so there's A, there's S, or I think it's TV on Canon. I don't know why it's TV. It's probably Japanese. I don't know. But S, don't worry about it. And M is for full manual, and that's like where you're controlling all the settings. If you're starting out, don't worry about it. Try and put it on A. If you can't figure it out, just put it on P. It'll be fine, but A, dial that all the way down to the lowest number. For some reason, low number means wide open. One quick tip I gotta insert here. When you're looking at the picture, if you're finding it's too bright or too dark, and in the case of the video that I'm gonna show you, I think it's a little bit bright, is you can use this thing, it's called exposure compensation. Look for this little you see that little icon right there, a plus or minus? When you hit that, you'll see what ends up happening is it's gonna bring up a box that allows you to dial in if you want it darker or brighter. And that just lets you adjust it a little bit, because sometimes your camera can be reading funny. Maybe it's reading a brighter window in the background or some other lighting going on that's making it a little bit too bright or too dark. By using that exposure compensation, you're able to kind of override the camera and say, hey, I just want it a little brighter or a little darker. Handy. Let's talk about focus, and this is maybe one of the most important things that I hope we can all figure it out while we're talking here. Focusing is really important, that where we talk about your face being in focus and the background being out of focus. If you mess this up, it's gonna kind of ruin your video a little bit. Let me give you an example here. I'm just gonna flip this into manual focus so I can show you. In this case, we're in manual focus. I'm gonna make it so my face is out of focus. Sorry, I'm looking over the screen, but you get it. Okay, right now, do you see my face is blurry? That's not very attractive. Or what can end up happening if you mess this up is, even worse, is everything was blurry, but now the background is in focus and my face is out of focus. And that's telling all of our eyes that we should look at the background, not at my face. That is not good. So we wanna be able to make sure that, we are in focus and the background is out of focus. Again, forcing people to look at our face naturally. So we've got to get into the right mode to be able to do this. Now, this is where these cameras have so much power and so much ability to be able to do all sorts of things. And I'm going to try and do this in a hopefully non-technical way. The easiest thing that you can do is find a way to put it in manual focus. That means the camera doesn't find the focus, you set the focus, which, on most ones you have these little switches here. Do you see there? We've got AFS, AFF, AFC, MF. MF means manual focus, and right now I'm in manual focus. AFC is continuous. That means it's going to continually try and find focus. That can end up be distracting if you're going in and out of focus because the camera's trying to find focus. So you typically want to avoid that mode unless you've got something like this Sony, which is in autofocus continuous, and that allows me to be able to throw this in there, in focus, me in focus. But lots of cameras aren't good at that. So I would say if you have a Sony or you maybe have that Canon T6i or higher end Canon, other than that, you can be an AFS, which is one more. And that is going to be autofocus single, and that should allow it to autofocus, but shouldn't be continually hunting, unless you're on a Panasonic. Sorry, that gets technical. The easiest thing I will say is put it in manual focus like this. And you're going to find a spot where you're going to turn this very front dial until your face is in focus. Now, what can be tough is if you don't have that flip out screen or the camera's a far ways away, it's tough to tell if you are in focus. And all you do then is you just find a way to rig up something that's going to be where your face is. And in the case of me right here, this is where my face is going to be. And so I would go around to the other side of the camera and I would focus on this, where you could dial it in so that it looks like it's in focus. And then you move this and you're okay, you know, to be able to get in manual focus. But we just really want to avoid the background being in focus and us being out of focus, as well as that camera continually hunting for the focus while we're doing the video. And the best way to avoid that is manual focus. Again, the only caveat being if you're constantly throwing things in the screen, taking them away. But that's maybe slightly more technical and hopefully not something that all of you guys are trying to do all of the time. If that's the case, experiment with those other modes, AFC or AFF, and those are going to continually try and find the focus. Maybe your camera's good at it. Maybe it isn't. Okay, I think that mostly covers it. Let's just recap here. You need a camera. You're going to need a tripod of some kind. Getting a little microphone can help. Quality-wise, MP4, 1080p, 30 frames per second. Again, just find that in your menu. Shooting modes, P if you have to. Try and put it in an A and work with that. Turn it, down to the lowest number possible. And that focus mode, try and get it into manual focus. And just focus again. You can use something to like put here where your face is going to be. Set the focus on that. Just going to give you the best shot. If you do that, then you can record. And so let's go ahead and just try and do a quick little vlog with this camera here that I've got here. So we're going to throw it in the little tripod thing here. And we're going to set our little tripod so you guys will be able to see. Maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll give you the screen. We're going to get our microphone, and our microphone goes on top like this. And then for me, my mic jack is right here on the front. Maybe I'll show you what I'm doing here. There's like a little microphone jack. It's hard to see. It's a little bit dark. That's fine. It just goes into the one that says mic. Very fascinating. Okay, here. So what I've got is I've got a screen where I'm able to see myself, but maybe you can do something here. So I'm going to put it into, well, I guess we'd go menu. And we would go record quality, which you guys know that we were going to do there. I'm going to try this backwards. So we're going to go down to 1080p, 1920 by 1080, 30p, MP4. Find that in the menu. Perfect. We've got quality. We're going to go shooting mode. So we've got it in A here. Now again, you've got a few different ones. We could be in the P. You can see it, P. But we want A, so we're going to do aperture. And again, we've got this dial where we can dial it all the way down. I'm going to straighten this out. Okay, perfect. So we've got our dial. Whoop. 3.5. We're going to, you can focus on your face if you happen to have the flip out screen you can see. Not everybody has the benefit. I've got a big monitor I can see here. But focus, and then we're going to flip it to manual. And again, we can dial it in, and lots of them are actually like zoom. That's too far away. I can't see it. Sorry. One sec. Yeah. Okay, yeah, my eyes are in focus, and we've got this, and we're going to hit record. So now we are recording, and we're able to talk to the camera. Something that I'm just noticing as I'm doing this is I can see that my audio levels are actually too high. It's hitting the little red line, which you can kind of see here if I flip to this one. Boom, boom, it's hitting, these are my audio levels that I happen to have on here. So we're actually going to be able to turn this down if we stop the recording. And then we're going to go down to, surprisingly difficult without being able to look. Is it in here? I think it is. We're going to look for something that talks about mic level adjust. Right now it's set to -6 dB, and you can see here as I test it, I'm hitting that red zone. So we're just going to dial it down to maybe somewhere around here. We're still hitting it -12. I guess I'm just a loud talker. You guys probably aren't as big of a talker. That's better. Okay, so we're talking here, and that's going to get us mostly out of the way of hitting that red line, which is not good. And then, yeah, we can basically get back to hitting recording and talking. And right now we are doing a little video with the vlog. Hopefully our lighting is okay, our camera's figuring out what's going on, and we end up looking and sounding good. Did we do it, you guys? Did we do it? Hopefully we did it. And we've now got a little clip to be able to put together. Maybe what I'll do is I'll record another one. And then maybe we can throw this on the computer and I can show you guys quickly just how to be able to put a couple of these clips together. Does that sound okay? Ta-da! All right, we've got a computer here and we are going to go through and edit this video. I've pulled the memory card out of the camera and I'm plugging it into the computer. And I'm just gonna kind of walk through the process. I'm gonna use iMovie. I haven't used iMovie in forever, and so hopefully me walking through it from the beginning will just kind of help you guys in getting started here. So we're gonna find our footage, which in the case of this is probably somewhere around here. And so we've got, I think, a couple of these videos that we put together. I may have done lots of them, but we're just gonna grab 2 clips here. It's always good to copy the footage onto your computer. It's faster to work off of there, so I'm gonna put them on the desktop. You can organize them much more better than that, but for the sake of this, that's gonna be fine. So you copy all your footage somewhere, ideally into a folder that you are gonna categorize however your brain works to categorize. I do it by the name of the thing, but people have other things. Okay, so we're gonna open up iMovie. Let's get started here. What's new in iMovie? Gee, thanks. Okay, so we're gonna start and create a new project. And we're gonna call this movie, because we're gonna combine a few things together. So the first thing we need to do is, this is kind of iMovie and it's got, I don't know, everything we need to get started. We need to import the media, which is those files that we recorded. So we're gonna do that. We have them on our desktop, but you would just browse to wherever they are. 12 and 16 seconds. I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to import them. That is going to bring them into iMovie, and that's going to take a little bit. Now, these are just 2 short clips, so we should be okay here. Now, we're just going to double click on this one. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of audio to play with. Hitting recording and talking, and right now we are doing a little video with the vlog. Hopefully our lighting is okay. Our camera's figuring out what's going on. All right. It looks fine, and we were able to talk to the camera and able to make this work, but we've typically got multiple clips, and this will happen to you guys too, where you want to cut around some things or include or exclude some things. So what we can actually do here is, it typically works in all of these programs that you can go and like either drag this little yellow line to where you want to start, or if you hit play, right now we are doing and it's like, ooh, I want to start right there. You can hit the I key, and that's going to start it there, and then you can play. With the vlog. Hopefully our lighting is okay. And when we get to the point we want, we can either drag the arrow back, or we can hit the O key, in, out. And that's just the technical term, but I is where we start the clip, and then O is where we end the clip. So we're going to do it there, let's say. And now we have this little yellow box, and we're going to drag that down onto the timeline. Okay, so now we've got that beginning bit, which is not going to be right what we want, because that's not what I said. A little video with the vlog. Hopefully our lighting is okay. And we're like, oh man, we cut off all of our stuff. Well, not a problem, because we can basically drag either way. So we just clicked on the edge of that, we dragged it, and you can also drag the end to be kind of exactly where you want it to be. So let's go to the beginning here. And let's back to hitting recording and... So let's say we want to delete out that first chunk, so that we just kind of start on a nice spot. We just click and drag that, and pretty much any of the editors should kind of work like that. Sometimes you may have to take this and drag it back to the beginning, but now we've got a better start. Hitting recording and talking, and right now we are doing a little video with the vlog. Hopefully our lighting... So let's say we wanted to remove that pause, because we've basically got this like ugly little chunk in the middle. I guess there's a couple of ways we can do this. One is we could probably split the clip. I don't remember what the command is on Apple, but let's say for an easy thing, let's take it back to the beginning. And so we've got that, and then we can go back to our original clip here and find where we actually want to start it. Let's go back to here. Hopefully our lighting is okay, our camera's figuring out what's going on. And we end up... So we had that big pause there. Let's say we want to take out that pause. We would just go to the beginning of that pause. And we end up... So you can use your left and right arrow keys to just kind of like back it up a little bit or move forward a little bit. So we're going to try and move the pause till just when we start. And again, we're going to hit that I key. It's going to start it there. And we're going to keep playing. Looking and sounding good. So let's just end it there. We're going to hit O, and you see it changes to that. We're just going to click and drag that. And so now we've got... And we end up looking... We took out the pause. Little video with the vlog. And we end up looking and sound. So that ends up, working out pretty good. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can go into with transitions and all those kinds of things. that's not for today's video. We just want to put together something really simple. And then we want to take our second clip and we can do the same thing. And then maybe we can throw this on the computer and I can show you guys quickly just how to be able to put a couple of these clips together. So let's just take, I can show you how to put a couple of these clips together. How to be able to put a couple of these. So we're just going to keep finding the spot where that starts. On the computer and I can show you guys. So we're going to go back to. I can show you guys quickly just how to be able to put a couple of these clips together. All right, so I'm just doing the I and the O, and this, I know this works in Adobe, this works here on Apple, I'm sure it works on most things. So I'm just able to take that, I'm gonna drag it down to the timeline, and there we go. We've basically assembled a very basic vlog. You can do lots of other things, like you could grab an image, which I probably have one somewhere in here. Perfect, ageless, age of music, and you can just, on most of these, both Adobe and iMovie, probably other ones, just click and drag them right into our timeline, and now we've got a photo, and it's going to apply some automatic things, which again, you can do an iMovie tutorial or whatever your editing software is to be able to know how you want to handle that stuff. But you basically work on assembling it and putting together the pieces. You can also typically, like if you wanted an image on top of another image, you could just drag, you know, another one in there. Here's like an image I have. Let's put it in there. And it ends up putting the image over top together of the other one, you know, and you just kind of click and drag and move things around. You have to figure that out a little bit, but the big thing I want to talk about is, okay, now we've got it done. We've edited our video. Well, how do we export and get this out to the internet? Now you can do some things here, I know, where you can probably log into a YouTube or something like that and actually log in and upload it. I swear that doesn't work more often than it does work. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna find the share button in here. Other ones, it could be export. And we're just gonna, in this case, share it as a file. The most important thing here is we're just gonna find the right file format to export, and this should be the same across any video editing software. The big thing here is we wanna find that resolution. We wanna make sure it's at 1080p, which is what we recorded at. Quality, this can depend on how fast your internet is and how long you want it to take to upload. Start at high, that should be good. In this case, compress. You can do faster or better quality. If speed is of the essence, do faster. If you've got time, then do higher quality. Anyway, and then we've kind of got a description. So this is Justin's Wicked Tutorial Vlog. Tags don't really work at it. So in this case, this isn't a huge file. We're gonna click next. We're gonna choose where we wanna save it on our computer. Desktop, save, we've got it going there. In the case of this, you're gonna see this little spinny thing go as it exports the video. Longer videos, they could take half an hour to render out. In this case, it's a short little video. Perfect, we've got the movie. Now we're gonna go to our YouTube. If it's Facebook, you can just upload it like a video goes to Facebook. Load. Try that again, there we go. And there's this little upload button here in the corner. We're gonna click on that, select our files, gonna go to the desktop. We're gonna find the My Movie, which we can see here. Talking, and right now we are doing a little bit. Perfect, and hit enter, and it's uploading. And then we can do the title, we can do the description, you can add it to playlist, do all that kind of YouTube-y stuff and click publish. But we've basically gone through the process of hopefully shooting a little video, doing a quick edit on it, and putting it out there. Obviously not super in-depth. That's not the process of this video. Hopefully enough to get you started and playing. Any questions at all, as always, drop a comment below. Don't be afraid of that old subscribe button or the like button, but I hope you're enjoying the content on my channel, and hopefully that helps you in starting on your journey. I'm Justin Rivas. Thanks for watching.